ibuprofen, 48 hours or whatever before the surgery. Okay, so they are anticoagulants. So older people to block the formation of clots, which is probably the most common cause of a heart attack. Older people take a low dose aspirin every day. And then it goes really, okay? So anyway, so platelets get so excited and they start secreting stuff. Platelet-derived growth factors' job is to bind to the endothelial cells that line the blood vessel and the skin cells in the very bottom layer of skin to start dividing. And you've got a wound to fix here. You got to repair the blood vessel wall, and you have to repair the skin. So platelet-derived growth factor will stimulate cell division until the wound is healed, and then we would hope that platelet-derived growth factor is going to not be effective anymore. Yeah, turn off the signal. Okay, so we're going to take a look at what happens when you cut your finger. The platelets saw the cut, were attracted to the cut, they were excited, they activated, and they secreted platelet-derived growth factor. Okay, now we're going to take a look at what platelet-derived growth factor does. Oh, well, let's start here. Okay, and if you have all your colors out, you probably want to use them. And this is going to take us more than a day to get through this pathway. Okay, so my pathway, if I write it teeny, weeny, weeny, is really like way 2 lines long. So you probably aren't going to, at least in your first attempt through, get it all on 1 page. It's going to take 2. I don't know how many people can write it, because this took a long time to get it to squish onto 1 page. Okay, so platelet-derived growth factor is going to be the yellow hormone that has bound. I'll just label it platelet-derived growth factor. And a number of things are going to bind to the receptor tyrosine kinase, but I'm just going to list one right now, and it is the adaptor protein with an SH2 domain. GRB2. It has absolutely no enzymatic function. All it does is provide a different kind of a docking site, so that proteins that need to be there but don't have SH2 domains can actually bind. Okay, so one of the sites on GRB2 is an SH2 domain. Okay, as a matter of fact, GRB2 is a really small protein and it has 2 SH2 domains, so I guess it can bind to a couple of kinds of receptor tyrosine phosphates. Okay, and the other domain is SH3 domain. And GRB2 has 1 SH3 domain. Okay, so it has 2 SH2 domains, 1 SH3 domain. Okay, so so a protein that can recognize and bind to the SH3 domain, which happens to be, it is SOS. Oh, as soon as I said SOS, it reminds me of Mamma Mia. SOS stands for Son of Sevenless. I think it picked up that name for some reason in Drosophila.
Son of Sevenless.
Huh?
What does it stand for?
Huh?
What does it stand for?
Son of sevenless.
It's like a medieval. Yes, God.
Like a sardine.
Okay.
Son of seven.
Son of sevenless, okay? So next Halloween, you can dress up as. Oh my God. Okay, so son of sevenless is a gift, okay? It's a gift. Can you think of another Guanine exchange factor that has some reference to 7? Okay, another Guanine exchange factor where the description of this Guanine exchange factor 7 would probably come into play. This is your trivia test for the day.
Say father of the
Huh?
Father of the seven.
Yeah, father of 7. Okay, describe a G protein coupled receptor. It has 7 transmembrane domains. SOS does not have 7 transmembrane domains. So it's 7 less. I don't know why it's 7 less, but it is 7 less. So SOS is like a G protein coupled receptor, except it doesn't have 7 transmembrane domains. Got it? Okay, so the G protein that it is going to activate is RAS.
Son of Thor. Destroy the mitochondria.
And RAS is just a G protein. It doesn't have, what do you think? Oh, I know. You can tell this is a really sad day when the most entertaining thing is the name Son of 7. Okay, so this is what SOS does. It activates RAS. Okay. So I'm going to stop here for just a little bit before we discover what RAS is going to do and talk a little bit about RAS. Okay. So RAS is one of the most often mutated proteins in cancer. It belongs under that category of, oh goodness, 30% of cancers have a mutant RAS. Okay, so I want you to think, what might be mutant? Because, okay, but to give you the rest of the story, if a growth factor is going to tell the cell to divide, okay, RAS is going to continue the sequence to, okay, I'm going to erase this because we got more proteins to put in there. Okay, RAS is going to transmit the signal, please divide. So, what kind of a mutation in RAS might be a cancer-causing mutation?
If it never hydrolyzes its GTP.
Yeah, the most, yes, the oncogenic mutation in RAS is one that where RAS loses its GTPase activity. And even the GAG that binds to RAS cannot help it hydrolyze its GTPase. And it turns out there's only 3 different amino acids in RAS that can that you found. So RAS can be mutant at 12, 13, and 61. That's it. Why is that? Isn't that interesting that so many cancers have a mutant RAS and it can only, and a mutant RAS is really, it includes a mutation in one of 3 different amino acids in the protein. So there's got to be mutation hotspots around. Those are free bleed, you know. That just doesn't make sense. Does it get, what kind of a property does it give to the cell then?
Yeah, it just keeps dividing.
Yeah, it gives the cell, then, at this point, who even needs the platelet-derived growth factor, right? You know, from everything upstream from RAS is no longer necessary. So if you gave the cancer patient some sort of receptor tyrosine kinase inhibitor, like Iressa or whatever, would it help?
Yeah.
No, because everything upstream from the mutant RAS doesn't matter anymore. Okay, so this is one of these things where a mutation that adds function to the cell. It doesn't remove a function from the cell, it actually adds function to the cell, and it gives the cell a selective advantage. Okay, where other signals are saying don't divide now, don't divide now, this cell's still going to divide. 90% of pancreatic cancer. Okay, so one of the things that could help is if you could block the prenylation. Okay, if we could don't let RAS pick up that little lipid, then it would never get close enough to the SOS to be activated. Okay, so RAS has a farnesyl. Okay, so that little hair. Okay, and it's put onto RAS, the farnesyl is put onto RAS by a farnesyl transferase. Okay, so somebody thought, oh, this would be way cool. What if we just inhibited farnesyl transferase and keep all of the RAS down here floating around in the cytoplasm? So it can't be up here where, at the cell membrane where SOS is. So a farnesyl inhibitor was developed in mice. It worked great in mice, and then it was used in humans, and it just hasn't worked well. Okay, so but there are farnesyl transferase inhibitors, and then here's the reason why they don't work well. Is the cell gets around that inhibition. Okay, by changing the prenyl group. All right, if I can't farnesylate RAS, I will geranylate RAS. So what they see is in human cancers that have been treated with farnesyl transferase inhibitors, the cells have gotten around that inhibition by saying, okay, we'll just stop using farnesyl, we'll instead use geranylgeranyl, a longer prenyl group. Okay, and the inhibitors don't block geranylgeranyl transferase. So this had not, it was a great concept, worked well in theory, worked well in mice, but it did not play out well in humans. So I think the hunt for a good RAS inhibitor is still in the making. Okay. Okay, here we go. Anything else you want to say? No? Okay. So RAS, besides GTP activity, doesn't really do much, except it becomes a docking site. Okay. What colors? For a protein called RAF, and I bet some of you will be doing your final paper on the protein RAF. BRAF is one of the kinds of RAF proteins. RAF is a MAP kinase. Okay, remember ASK. Did I tell you that was a MAP kinase. Did I use that word again?
No.
Oh, okay. Ask is a MAP kinase. Okay? This happens to be the most commonly mutated protein kinase in human cancers. Okay, in human cancers. I don't know about other kinds. Okay, so there are attempts to inhibit RAF, and I think you can. I don't know if they're actually RAF inhibitors that are given to patients yet. So mutation in RAF, what kind of a mutation is that going to lead to? Gain of function or loss of function? Gain of function, just like RAS's mutation is a gain of function, RAF's mutation would be a gain of function. Okay, so RAF is going to come up, I think it'll come up in as a dimer actually, because it will autotransphosphorylate. Okay. So the docking of RAF onto RAS allows RAF to be active. RAS cannot phosphorylate RAF. I think there are two RAFs there that phosphorylate one another. Finding it's tough. Getting a story on, nailing down a story on RAF is really tough because it does so many different things and it's regulated in so many different ways. Okay. All right, so then we need, if we have a MAP kinase, we're going to need okay, RAF is going to activate by phosphorylation a MAP kinase, okay?
So the phosphorylation on RAF, is that in the tyrosine also?
No. This, because RAF is going to, there will be two RAFs there. It can phosphorylate itself or it can autotransphosphorylate. Or those autotransphosphorylation get to be old hat now. Okay? So it is, and it's going to be in a serine or green, they can't see it. Okay? So we need to identify a MAP kinase, okay, for RAF to activate, and it happens to be MEK. What should we do about MEK? Oh, I didn't do it. Oh. Okay, so we'll make MEK. This will be MEK.
It doesn't bind then?
Huh?
It doesn't bind, like it doesn't dock to RAF and then it's,
Oh, so RAF binds.
no, I mean does MEK bind?
Well, all of them are, and you can see this in your book, all of them are actually bound to some scaffolding. So that RAF is bound, MEK is bound, and MEK's substrate, ERK, is bound. So when you have these series of 3 protein kinases, these kinases aren't just floating around in the cytoplasm waiting to be phosphorylated. They're actually bound to a scaffolding that lines these guys up. So that you see it, you know, RAF phosphorylates MEK, MEK phosphorylates ERK. I don't know what that does to the whole idea of signal amplification. Okay, so that's MEK. And we call these kinase the MAP kinase. Okay? So MAP, okay, so MAP is going to phosphorylate a MAP kinase, so now we have to identify a MAP kinase. Oops, I'm gonna put this as phosphorylated and therefore active. Okay, so RAP is active when it's up here, bound to the GTP, or bound to RAS. MAP is active when it's phosphorylated. All we need is a substrate for MEC. Oops. Does your homework have a MEC inhibitor? Does it use a MEC inhibitor? I can't remember if it's this homework or the homework we're going to be covered. Okay. Okay, so it's this MEC that the homework is inhibiting. The homework that we're gonna look at next Monday, the one on on cardiac failure, I think also uses a MEC inhibitor. Okay. All right, so here is the MAP kinase for MEC, and it's called ERK. ERK is a square. Okay, so MEC phosphorylates ERK. That activates ERK. Okay. So ERK is the MAP kinase. And J and K, if we look at this cascade, is the MAP kinase. Okay? There are other series of 3 protein kinases that can do this sort of a thing. Okay, we've covered 2, and I think that's good enough. Okay. So ERK is the last of a string of protein kinases that gets phosphorylated, and it has to phosphorylate something. Okay. So this job and then we'll quit. Well, we'll sort of quit. Its job is to move into the nucleus as far as I know. I think it has nuclear localization. I'll have to, I should check. Okay. And its job is to phosphorylate a transcription factor. And by the way, you're going to notice that all of these ELK, or it could be MIC too. Okay, so okay, so once ELK is phosphorylated, it can activate genes. It doesn't transcribe genes. Okay, RNA polymerase transcribes genes, but it can activate the transcription of genes. And these are genes that are going to move, genes that move this cell into S. Okay. And the one that is going to be most important for you for the next unit is cyclin D. It's just one of the genes. I want you to remember that one. We're going to start unit 4 with cyclin D. You could also put, for those in molecular genetics, put MYC. Could be that is also a transcription factor that gets phosphorylated by ERK. Okay. okay? And we've talked about in molecular genetics, MYC. And what happens when there's too much MYC in the cell. Okay, so that sort of is really in an extraordinarily fast way this full page. Yikes, we just made it through. Did we go too fast? Well, good, because that gives us more time to cover other really interesting things. Because I do want to, we want to go to not just this, but we got PI3 kinase and phospholipase C. We still have other things that bind to the receptor tyrosine kinases that we have to get to. So this wasn't that.
My error was